Welcome to King Grunn, the Lonely King, but not lonely today. As far as our opening hand goes, do we want to keep this? Is this something that we want? We have Lano War Elves, Cathedral of War. Yeah, we're going to keep on this one. I was hoping to have a little bit more ramp or maybe some sort of artifact, but hopefully we'll get lucky and draw into that and get down Grunn pretty quick and show Ghave how fun it is to go out into the jungle with Grunn as he hunts you down. Let's go get down Forest. Let's go get down Lano War Elves, and that sounds like a pretty good turn one play. And then we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. We're playing Grunn, the Lonely King. Kicker 3. If Grunn was kicked, it enters the battle with 5 additional +1 counters on it. Then whenever Grunn attacks alone, double its power and toughness until end of turn. Playing gets a Ghave, Guru of Spores, which, let's see if they're going to go for that Tri-Belter crack or not. Drawn to Rogue's Passage. Since we don't have any sort of turn 2 play, let's just go and get down Cathedral of War. So then they come into play tapped, and we're going to pass the turn back over to our opponent. Playing gets Ghave, Guru of Spores, enters the battlefield with 5 +1 counters on it, just like Grunn, in a way. 1 mana activation, remove a +1 counter from a creature you control, create a 1/1 green sapling creature token, then for a 1 mana activation, put a +1 counter on target creature that you control. So hopefully we can get down Grunn pretty quick. We don't really have a ton of really good kind of instant speed combat tricks in our hand. We do have Sheltering Word, which is definitely nice to protect Grunn, but we want to be able to really take advantage of that doubling its power and toughness until end of turn. So hopefully we draw into something that allows us to kind of start pushing in our opponent. One of the things that makes Grunn really good is giving it trample. You give it trample and it's just like that power and toughness is pretty silly sometimes. You know, there are also some times where you can just double its power and toughness, and then kind of slowly, once you get in for one good swing, it makes it hard to where they can't get enough blockers out there to stop what you've got going on. All right, so we do draw into Temple of the False God, which is actually pretty nice. Let's go and get down Forest. Yeah, I think we're fine with that. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 next turn. Then we go for 6, 7 off Temple of the False God. Yeah. And that's also going to give us a pretty good Exalted trigger. Do we want to get down Crossroads? No, let's just go and pass the turn. So we're going to go and kick the turn over to our opponent. And then if the... Ow, sorry, I tried to adjust in my chair and I stepped on my microphone cable. So if you heard a quick little noise real quick, that's what that was. But yeah, so what we can do is next turn, or at least we'll make the land drop next turn, get down Temple of the False God, and then we'll be okay to go from there. And then start dealing some of that combat damage. But yeah, if you haven't seen Grunn before, it's pretty much kind of like Infect for Commander. And it's always fun trying to kind of figure out exactly how you can deal that damage. But usually if you can get in that one nice hit, it makes it hard to where they can't take another hit, or they're worried about some sort of combat trick to lose their commander damage. All right, so we got Wood Elves coming across for 1. We're going to let that swing across. It's the least of our worries at this point right now. Knocking us down to 29, and then we draw into Predator Strike. There we go. That is perfect. Let's go and get down Forest. So that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for next turn, putting us online for Crossroads, which I do like. Okay, yeah, let's just go and pass the turn again. Now, if we want to, we do have Nature's Way. Now, what we can do is once we double the power and toughness of Grunn, we can actually use Nature's Way in our second main phase to kind of take care of some sort of creature from our opponent. The only thing we have to watch out for right now is Ghave going off at instant speed, because there's a lot of different, not instant speed, but just going infinite. There's a lot of different ways that you can get those +1 counters going on Ghave and basically kind of loop a lot of stuff. I don't know exactly what all the interactions are, but I know that Ghave is very easy. Once you get any sort of +1 counter doubler, it's pretty easy to kind of go hog wild with that. And it's funny, I need to build Ghave because Ghave is actually one of the very few decks that whenever a token leaves the battlefield, +1 counter. Okay, Ghave is one of the very few commander decks that I have built in paper that actually don't have built online, which is kind of odd because Abzan was actually kind of the first color shard that I got into. I was really I got into Golgari when I first got into Magic, but Abzan was kind of the next transition as far as a 3-color deck that I wanted to build. And so that's kind of why I built Ghave. And it's kind of settled into this kind of Abzan control style deck. So nothing that's too... Really, I play it with my buddy, and it's one of the decks we play late at night, or towards the end of one of our sessions, because there's so much stuff going on. And it's one of my older decks, so there's not a lot of synergy in the deck, and there's just a lot of stuff going on. It's a little overwhelming at sometimes. All right, let's go and get down Temple of the False God. Yeah, I like this. Let's go and go for Grunn. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Let's go and tap down for Grunn. Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get the kicker going, but with Crossroads, do we want to get in for Crossroads? Yeah, I like that. Let's go for Crossroads. That's going to allow us to swing in for pretty good. You want to be aggressive with this deck. You know, if they catch us on the back end with something, that's fine. So we're going to go for Crossroads and keep our fingers crossed that they don't have any sort of a spot removal. They only have 3 cards in their hand, so we'll pray to the magic gods that they don't. Okay, opponent will go for an activation, making a sapling token on the battlefield. And then with the Twilight Drover, whenever a token, put a +1 counter on it, and then put 2 spirit tokens. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. If they're just making some sapling tokens, we'll be okay on this. Okay, whew. That last white mana being tapped made me really worried it was going to be Path to Exile, Source of Plowshare. So it looks like our opponent does not have some sort of spot removal, so we will be able to swing in for a 10-10. And actually, excuse me, it's going to be 12-12 with that Cathedral of War. So it's going to swing across with Grunn. It's going to get that power and toughness doubled. And I guess technically, yeah, we need to put the Grunn trigger on the stack first. So that way we get the Exalted trigger. It's going to be a 6-6. It's going to double the power and toughness, make it a 12-12 once we get that trigger going. There we go. All right, so we'll be coming across. We'll see that sapling token jump in front of that one. But, excuse me, yeah, then Grunn's not going to have trample. So at least we're going to force the sapling token activation. And then next turn, that does put us online for Predator Strike. We can also gain a pretty good chunk of damage off of... we can gain a pretty good chunk of life off of Sheltering Word. All right, so we're going to have double sapling tokens block. And we'll take care of those 2 sapling tokens. And that'll be a couple Zulaport Cutthroat triggers and then Twilight. So let's go and yield to that. And always yield to Zulaport. All right, they go to 30. We go down to 21. And then anything else? No. We did draw the Tireless Tracker. We'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. So next turn, we do have the Sheltering Word, like I mentioned, to kind of gain a little bit of life. Let's say they do get down some sort of big creature, kind of deal some pretty good damage to us. We can go for that Sheltering Word to gain some life. And then with Predator Strike, that's going to allow us to swing in for a really good chunk of damage with that +3/+3, because we're looking at 9 coming across. That's going to be 18. It'll be even better if we do draw into another sort of thing that allows us to kind of boost that power and toughness to Grunn. Now, our opponent does get down Aura Shards, but thankfully we've already taken care of Crossroads. We've already gotten been able to use it to our advantage. So even if they do destroy it, it's not too bad. The other thing we do have to watch out for with Aura Shards is that if we do get down some sort of piece of equipment, at instant speed, they can put one of those tokens on the battlefield, and that will destroy whatever sort of equipment we draw into. So hopefully we draw into some sort of instant speed interaction. And then we'll see if our opponent wants to swing in on this one or not. Okay, we got 4 coming across that will put us down to 17. And then let's see what we draw into. We can still at least make the land drop for the turn. And actually, we do have Rogue's Passage. Ooh, drawn to Ranger's Guile. Okay, let's do this. Let's go and get down Rogue's Passage. Yeah, I like that. So what we can do is we can make Grunn unblockable. That's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's going to be, yeah, let's double check. So that's going to make it 6 with the Exalted trigger. That's going to be 9 with the Predator Strike. It's going to be 10. I think that'll be just enough if we end up tapping out for that. Now, what we can do is we can end up, because I'm trying to figure out if we ended up kind of gaining a little bit of life off of this one to make it unblockable. Because they can still chump block with Twilight and then Twilight and the sapling tokens. But that's going to cut us off going off something like Sheltering Word and Nature's Way. You know what? Let's just go and swing across with Grunn. Let me double check I'm looking at this right. So we're looking at 6. That's going to be 8, 9, 10. That's going to double it to 20. That'll keep us away at just exactly 1 total commander damage. Let's do this. Let's just go and push across with Grunn. And then that way it kind of gives us most access to some of this instant speed interactions that we do have. Okay, let's go and swing across with Grunn. Let's go and go for... Let's get the Grunn trigger on the stack. Let's go and go for Ranger's Guile on Grunn. Okay, it does have hexproof, so we can go for Predator Strike. And then nothing else is going to give us a power toughness bonus. So we're going to let that exalted trigger go through. So that will be 20, and then we're going to double its power and toughness. So we'll make it a total 20/20 Grunn, swinging across at our opponent. All right, so it's 20/20. Let's see how they want to block on this one. They can't get these sapling tokens going, and then next turn we'll still be online for Nature's Way, or at least second main phase to go for Nature's Way. And our opponent will send Ghave to the graveyard too on this one, just to get that extra Zulaport Cutthroat trigger. All right, let's go and always yield to Zulaport Cutthroat, and we'll always yield to Twilight Drover, who's in the graveyard. Can't take advantage of that anymore. Let's go ahead and go for Sheltering Word on Grunn. Yeah, I like that. Let's go for Sheltering Word. Choose Grunn. All right, let's put this back up to 31, and let's go and go for Nature's Way with Grunn, and then targeting Zulaport Cutthroat. And that way, just in case there's some sort of way that they can get a ton of creatures on the battlefield, we'll at least get rid of that Zulaport option. It's going to be in the graveyard, and we don't have to worry about that one. Yeah, that life gain works out really nice. All right, so it's going to take care of Zulaport, and we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent, and then kick it back over there. But that's pretty much how you want a Grunn turn to kind of go. As you can tell, we have almost 0 cards in the hand. We have Tireless Tracker, but that's pretty much what you want to happen, you know. And that's the fun thing about Sheltering Word, is that it does give Grunn hexproof to kind of protect it in these scenarios, but at the same time, you can gain that toughness, and it makes for a huge life gain. Like I mentioned with the Nature's Way play, just in case our opponent can get some sort of loop going, that way it kind of cuts them off that life gain aspect. And at this point right now, they're going to have to rebuild the board. So Ghave did get sent to the graveyard. Field of Ruin, okay. Now we do need to find some sort of trample option to get Grunn trample again. We did do a pretty good chunk of damage, but yeah, let's go and grab Forest off of that. Because at this point, if they keep getting creatures down, it's going to be hard for them to. It's going to be hard for us to push past on this one. But hopefully, if we hit the land drop, we get down Tireless Tracker, and we kind of start going from there. And our opponent's going to see what they're going to bring back. Karmic Guide, bringing back Ghave. Okay. And then thankfully, with them bringing back Ghave, they actually don't have access to any sort of instant speed creatures on the battlefield to take advantage of Aura Shard. So hopefully, if we do draw a trample spell, we'll be able to kind of close it out. Drawn to, ooh, there we go. Beautiful. That's a nice top deck. Let's go get Rancor onto Grunn. It's going to be 1 green. And the cool thing about Rancor is that it adds some really nice, gives it trample and gives it that power and toughness bonus. Let's go and push across with Grunn. All right, so we're going to go and swing across with Grunn. That's going to be 7/5 coming across. We'll get that Exalted trigger, and then that way we can make it end up being 8. It's going to be 16 coming across, and this is pretty much exactly what you're going to be doing with Grunn. Swinging across, thankfully, thank the Magic Gods, we did draw into Rancor on that one. That did give us trample. You can tell, you know, even with our opponent having stuff like Karmic Guide, Ghave getting back onto the battlefield, and Aura Shards, you can really kind of push in some really nice combat damage on your opponent and still kind of stabilize with stuff like Sheltering Words. So, good game to our opponent. We're going to be swinging across. We are looking at 14 total commander damage, and then once Grunn swings across for 16, they don't have enough to kind of stop that Grunn damage swinging across. So, good game to our opponent. Unfortunately, I can't pull up the chat to see what you said, so good game to our opponent. I enjoyed it. And if you enjoyed Grunn today, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye. Welcome to Grunn, the Lonely King. As far as opening hand goes, yeah, we got 3 lands in our, 4. Yeah, I like this hand a lot. We're going to keep on this one. We also do have Paragon of the Eternal Wilds, which is also really nice to kind of give a nice little bonus to Grunn. Let's go and get Grunn popped up. Come on, there we go. Let's go and get down, I guess at this point, we're going to get down Forest, and then anything else, we're going to pass the turn to our opponent. We are playing Grunn, the Lonely King. Not so lonely today, buddy. So we got a nice little overlay for you. You have a bunch of people that are excited to see you. Kicker 3, whenever Grunn, if it was kicked, enters the battlefield with 5+1 counters on it. Then whenever Grunn attacks alone, double its power and toughness until end of turn. Let's go ahead and get down, drawn to Berserk, which is pretty nice. Let's go ahead and get down Black Blade, Reforge. It's going to be 1/2, and we'll kick it back over there. Playing against Scion of the Dragon, flying. Then for a 2-mana activation, search your library for a dragon permanent card, put it into your graveyard. If you do, Scion becomes a copy of that card until end of turn, then shuffle your library. Now, if you've not seen Grunn before, what are we doing with Grunn? This is basically, it's kind of like Infect for Commander. You know, we're trying to deal in one shot, not one shot, but if we can do it, it's always nice. But basically, get a ton of damage going for Commander damage. Let's go and get down one Power Stone. That'll be 1, 2, 3, and then we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. Now, we do try to always, if we can help it, we try to go for that kicker to get down Grunn, but sometimes we can't get that kicker going. But really, just having Grunn's ability to double its power and toughness until end of turn swinging in is more than enough to really put some pretty good pressure on your opponent. And especially if you can give Grunn some sort of trample effect, then it really kind of gets going from there. Opponent's going to go for Cultivate, get a few of those lands on the battlefield. Kind of go from there. But yes, one of the fun things in this deck is Wild Defiance. We get down Wild Defiance, and because with Wild Defiance, the target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn if it's targeted with an instant or sorcery. And that doesn't really matter if it's from us or from our opponent. Either way, it's going to be getting that additional power and toughness bonus. So it's going to get down Rogue's Passage. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's go and go for Grunn. I think I'm okay with that. We're looking at Blackblade Reforged next turn for 3. Yeah, let's do that. It'll be 1, 2, 3. Be a good way to kind of put some pressure on Scion. Let's go and get down Grunn. There we go. Get him onto the battlefield, and we'll go kick it back over to our opponent. Make sure we hit the land drop. We did, and we'll go and pass the turn. So have a couple different options for next turn. We are looking at Key to the City. Get down Key to the City. That's going to make Grunn unblockable. We could also still go ahead and get down Blackblade Reforged, which is going to make Grunn basically a 9/9. That'll make it an 18/18 once it swings across, and then I think that'll still put us online for Berserk, which is going to be X is going to be its power. So we can definitely one-shot our opponent if we wanted to leave it all on the battlefield. You know, that does leave them open to some sort of piece of spot removal. Let's go ahead and get down Forest. Let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead and go for that. Let's go ahead and get down Blackblade Reforged. We're going to hold off on Berserk at this point right now. That'll be 1, 2, 3. Berserk makes for some pretty funny games sometimes. Go ahead and get down Grunn. All right, it's going to be a 10/10, and then I guess, yeah, we'll just go and get down Paragon. Yeah, either way, because if we get that down, that'll be then I'll make it an 11/11. So sorry about that to our opponent. That'll be 21 coming across, and that's one of the downsides to playing Grunn in 1v1 Commander is that it's turn 5, and we're looking at an 11/11. A monkey on the gorilla on the battlefield, and that's going to be 22 points of damage coming across. So that does put our opponent on having some sort of spot removal. We'll see if they do end up okay, do they have it? Maybe it's Swords to Plowshare. Let's see. Okay, opponent will end up going for Mortify, destroy target creature or enchantment. So that does take care of Grunn. Okay, feel a lot better about that. It's going to send Grunn back to the command zone. Now we have ourselves a game, and we can kind of go from there. That's one of the downsides. I always hate kind of pushing in with Grunn, but at the same time, I don't want to like not push it in if we have it in our hand. So that does still leave us open for Berserk, so we can put that back. And then once we get down Grunn and go from there. So Grunn is sitting at 6 mana, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So hopefully we can kind of get that going. One thing that we can do, it's kind of fun about this deck is we get down stuff like Paragon, kind of be a little of a backup Voltron creature. We get down Blackblade Reforged on there and really start kind of pushing in our opponent. Opponent's going to go for a Tarka. It's going to take care of, I think, pretty much Paragon, depending on how they want to go that. It's going to be 5 damage, target creatures and or planeswalkers. So that's going to be 5 damage being dealt to Paragon. Okay, poor Paragon's going to get hit. All those animals will be like, what happened to Paragon? We got hit by a Tarka. A Tarka jumped into the forest and attacked Paragon, so I'm sure that that deer's pretty sad about that. Let's go ahead and get Forest down. Let's go and tap down for Grunn. There we go. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Get down Grunn, and then we'll go and pass the turn to our opponent. So we'll get down Grunn. Once again, that does keep us online for Key to the City and Berserk next turn. So that'll be a pretty good chunk of damage on our opponent. That does keep them on having another piece of removal. So we'll see what they do have, and then we'll get the monkey damage going, the gorilla damage going. But yeah, it's always, I've never been a huge fan of Infect, but with this playing a deck like this, I can see where playing Infect, especially in a modern setting, would just be a ton of fun because just trying to have it, just trying to have the in your head, trying to say like, all right, if we do this, swing in and attack and do this, and then we do have it with combat damage is always nice. But I'm just gonna get down Deadeye Navigator. Oh no, it's going to be soul bonded, so they can't pay that 2 mana and exile this creature, or return to the battlefield under the control. So that's going to be exactly 5 damage to Grunn. Oh no. All right. Maybe they go for it. Maybe they don't go for it this turn. Let's see what they end up going for. So that will, if they do end up going for that activation, that's a pretty nasty, not nasty, but I mean like the value on that is just pretty gnarly. All right, so our opponent's gonna be able to get that damage coming across. 5 damage gonna be dealt to ground. That will take care of Grunn. And that's one of the downsides of the deck is when you're playing a deck like this that is so all in on Grunn, it is 6 mana, and if you get sent back to the command zone twice, you're in a pretty bad position. So we'll see what we can do about this. Our opponent unfortunately could have swung in first for 8 damage in the air. With that, that would have knocked us down to 22. So just to kind of keep the people out there a little bit aware, especially if you're, because I always forget about stuff like that. I'm not hounding our opponent. I'm just saying, like, I'm very guilty of doing stuff like that. So you get a certain line of play stuck in your head, like, oh, I need to do this and that'll take care of it. And then you forget about, like, I can't tell you how many Lightning Greave mistakes I've made to where we get down a creature and I could have swung in with haste off of that Lightning Greave creature. So just wanted to point that out. Let's go get down double forest. Let's put 1 forest on the battlefield, 1 forest into our hand. I was going to get that down. Let's go and go for Key to the City. That'll be 1/2. And actually, if we want to, we can go and discard a card and then draw an additional card for next turn because we do need to kind of dig a little bit deeper. Anything else? No. Let's go and pass the turn to our opponent. Well, now that I think about it, so we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we are looking at 10 mana that does get down Grunn for next turn. So if we want to draw a card that bad off Key to the City, we can kind of definitely get that going. Unfortunately, really the only thing that we have as far as card draw in here is going to be, we're in mono green, so it's a little hard to get some stuff moving. We can go for Hunter's Insight, which is going to be hard for us to kind of get going with the Tarka on the battlefield. So we almost need to kind of draw into something that we can get down, get to 11 mana, and kind of give Grunn an instant speed boost in response to something like that. But either way, it's still going to be hard for us to kind of beat that Deadeye Navigator and that Dragon Lord of Tarka kind of combination off of that. Our opponent will be swinging across for 13. That will be knocking us down. Yeah, we've got a pretty good clock from our opponent, so let's go and go for Key to the City, because that doesn't really do us any good for next turn. Let's go and make a Dragon Lord of Tarkir blockable. Can't be blocked this turn. They're getting that damage. We'll be able to pay that 2 life next turn. I'm not really sure what we can draw into, but basically we're looking at tapping out for Grunn, and it's not going to be too good. So let's go and pay 2 on Worn Power Stone. I think we might have a fog effect in here. Who knows? All right, let's go and pay 2 on Worn Power Stone. Draw into Nyela, and then draw into Soul Ring, which we are looking at. That's going to be 13 from a Tarka, and that will be exactly 17 from Scion for next turn. Let's go and get down Soul Ring. Yeah, and I guess we'll just go ahead and pass the turn. But yeah, that's going to be exactly 13. That'll be 17 coming across. Maybe, for some reason, our opponent, I don't know, doesn't do. Either way, we'll go for Berserk on a Tarka. That way they can have some fun, deal that extra damage. But I think our opponent's going to get it on this one. But I'll go and post this one up because this basically, it's always fun to win with Grunn, but at the same time, this is a really good showing of what can happen with Grunn, especially when you're going all in on a creature like Grunn that is 6 mana, and once it gets sent back to the command zone a couple times, it's just really hard to kind of get anything done. But we'll go and go for Berserk to kind of make sure we deal that little bit extra damage for our opponent, and then we'll see what they end up searching for off of Scion. But we'll end up going for Berserk and give it that... it's always fun. I always appreciate it when stuff like this happens. And so we'll go for Berserk on Dragon Lord of Tarka. And I always like imagining Berserk, just like how much it I just love like giving that creature like a shot of steroids and making it just really, really big or something like that. So it's going to make it 16/16 coming across. So that will be lethal between Deadeye and Dragon Lord of Tarka. And we'll see what our opponent will end up searching for off of Scion of the Darkness. But Scion of Dragon. But our opponent's pretty much going to have it on this one. And that will be Dragon Lord Tyrant. So flying double strike, and it's going to be 6/6. So that will be 16, that will be 21, and that'll be a pretty good chunk of damage once that gets done. So it should put us down to 0. Let's see. Oh, right. Oh, excuse me. The game popped away. Good game to our opponent. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see what that was. Let me see if I can't get that pulled back up. Okay, there we go. Got it pulled back up. Opponent puts us all the way down to -16, so definitely a good game to our opponent. Whenever the game ends, I can't pull the chat out. So, like I mentioned, good game. But you definitely see where we almost had lethal. We had 22 points of commander damage coming across, but our opponent did have the spot removal test in their hand of Mortify, and they were able to take care of Grunn. So that sent Grunn back to his lonely spot in the jungle. But this is pretty much what this deck's capable of. We're capable of getting a turn 4 or 5 win with Grunn, but at the same time, if they have some sort of spot removal and we don't have some protection, that's going to take care of Grunn. So, good game to our opponent, and if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.